We are gathered here today at South Georgia, certainly one of the loneliest outposts of human habitation anywhere in the world, to pay homage to Sir Ernest Shackleton. He was known to those of them that knew him, either casually or well, simply but affectionately as the boss. And you know, in our mildly eccentric manner, we Brit celebrate our disasters, whether they are personal disasters or whether they are national disasters. And when you look at the boss's life, it was exactly that. It was a disaster. It was one incident after another. This is a man that failed at every single thing he attempted. At one point in his career, under the command of Sir Robert Falcon Scott, he was sent home in disgrace and declared by Scott as patently unfit for Antarctic duty. He was an explorer. He was never first anywhere. As I said, one disaster after another. In 1907, many years before Scott or Amundsen were anywhere near the South Pole, he found himself with a small group of men only 97 miles from the South Pole. The year was 1907. Fame, glory, immortality was within his grasp, and yet he turned back because he knew that to go forward to the South Pole meant almost certain death. And the measure of this man we call the boss, Sir Ernest Shackleton, can be measured by that one simple gesture. Sir Ernest Shackleton never put personal glory before the safety of his men. He led by example. He was always the first one to give up that extra blanket. He was always the last at the cookpot. In the end, his greatest disaster, his greatest tragedy, the capture of his wonderful ship, the Endurance, in the ice and its eventual sinking 11 months later, he would turn into his greatest triumph. It was like a classical Greek tragedy. He was given 3 impossible tasks. The first of those was with his men, now out on the open pack ice of the Antarctic, the most brutal environment in the world. And these men, with empty stomachs, toiled across an empty and frozen land, pulling their longboats behind them to reach eventually Elephant Island. Mission Impossible number 1 was achieved. Then he was asked to perform the second impossible task, and that was to take a small boat across 800 miles of ice-filled stormy ocean. Even today, that open boat journey is regarded as one of the most perilous, if not the most perilous open boat journey ever undertaken. 800 miles, 16 days later, having survived, he arrived at King Haakon Bay. And then impossible task number 3 was performed. A task that not even the tough, seasoned Norwegians ever thought to be possible. And that was the crossing of South Georgia's snow-capped peaks and ice-crevassed fields up in the hills behind us. He did it in May 20th, to arrive at Stromness. He had succeeded. He walked to the door, knocked on the door and said simply, "My name is Shackleton." Everybody thought that he had perished with all of his men. Now he had to go and get his men. It took several attempts. Perhaps this was impossible task number 4. But as you all know, aboard the Yelcho, captained by Captain Pardo, he eventually collected every single man. Not one was lost under his personal command. And so ended the greatest of all Antarctic adventure stories. It is easy to be a man amongst boys. But ladies and gentlemen, Shackleton was a man amongst men. In an age of Antarctic heroes, he was simply the greatest. Our tiny island nation of Great Britain has produced many, many leaders, but it is widely regarded that none is as great as Sir Ernest Shackleton. Perhaps the greatest compliment that was ever paid to him are in the words of J.B. Priestley when comparing the Antarctic explorers. It's a quote that is often used to portray who Sir Ernest was. And Priestley said, "For speed and efficiency of travel, give me Amundsen. For organization and scientific discovery, give me Scott. But when disaster strikes and all hope fades, get down on your knees and pray for Shackleton." Ladies and gentlemen, the boss. He always gets one.